Good morning and welcome to Wake Up to Broker Up with Mark, episode number 31 for 2025. There is so much to learn. Every time you think you know everything you need to know, something else comes up and you're like, wow, why didn't I think of that before? So this past week, I had an opportunity to meet with a bunch of real estate professionals from various companies, and we had a conversation. And the interesting thing about that is you never know where you're going to be and who you're going to be around that will provide you with some type of idea that maybe you didn't previously have before. That's how you learn and grow. You got to be open to those opportunities. And at this particular function, there's two things I want to share with you because I think both of them at least resonated with me. Of course, I don't do exactly what you do because I don't go out there and meet with prospects, customers, clients, buyers, or sellers, and I don't deal with co-ops unless there's something going wrong. But the first one was about open houses. And open houses, from this person's point of view, are totally different than they've ever been before. Why is that? Because consumer behavior since the commission lawsuit may indicate that consumers are coming to open houses because they actually want to see the house unrepresented and they want to go through the property to determine whether they want to buy the property without being represented. Or they come to the property to tour the property to decide whether they want to be buying that property, and then they find the representation to represent them later on. No one comes to an open house based on this person's conversation with me to pick up an agent. They're not out there. It's not like a dating service. Hey, let's go by the open house and see if there's an agent we like, and then we'll sign them up and we'll start working with them. Now, that may happen, and I don't want to discourage you from picking up buyers, as they say. I don't want to discourage you from that. But remember, some of those people that are walking through those doors, if not all of them, are there to see the property, not to see you and engage with you. To that end, maybe it's time for you to take control of your own open houses instead of getting open house host so that you can be there to do what the listing agent does, which is to try to sell the property. I know, revolutionary, but it was very interesting twist because the buyers are coming there to see the property, not to see and meet you. And because of that, maybe we need to pay more attention to the prospective buyers that might be walking through the door of any particular open house. The second thing that I learned was about pricing strategy. When you look at property, if you're not listing the property at the price that you think is best for the property, in other words, you're conceding to what the seller wants to do and then taking the seller's list price and then putting it in the system and listing the property at their price, even though you know that that price is not the right price for whatever reason, condition, marketability, any of those factors, you're doing yourself and the seller a disservice. And maybe some of the properties that are lingering on the market right now suffer that fate. When we look around, we see what we think we're going to see. In other words, we're looking for validation of what we're doing and how it relates to what everybody else is doing. This suggestion was to look at those comps, to look at the information and stuff, and maybe price it with the seller on the lower end of that spectrum and price it at a price that you think will actually draw buyers in. If you're in a neighborhood where you're competing with other properties, even if it's as good as the other properties, maybe taking a little bit different approach would help it get sold. Now, there are properties selling, and some of the properties are selling the minute they go on the market, just like always. And why is that? More than likely, it's multiple factors, not just one factor, not just the condition of the property, not just how it's presented, but also price. Maybe it'll make a difference. Maybe this conversation that I'm having with you now will go back and resonate with you, and you'll try a different approach. Try it. You might like it. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.